you ever wondered if reviving extinct animals would really be a good idea? While de-extinction might sound like the ultimate win for science and nostalgia, not every lost species would fit neatly into our modern world. In today's video, we're diving into stories of extinct animals that, despite their allure, might best remain as relics of the past. From colossal mammals of the Ice Age to quirky birds and reptiles you've probably never heard of, we're exploring the hidden details and unexpected risks behind each creature. Ever imagined meeting a saber-tooth that wasn't a cat? Meet the Thylacosmilus, the marsupial saber-tooth that roamed South America millions of years ago. Unlike the iconic big cats we picture, this creature was a Metatherian, a relative of modern marsupials with elongated, scythe-like canine teeth and a robust, stocky build. Its unique anatomy, including a flexible lower jaw and specially adapted skull, hints at a hunting style entirely different from its placental cousins. However, its existence was tightly linked to an ecosystem that has since vanished. Reviving Thylacosmilus might sound thrilling, but its specialized feeding habits and habitat needs would clash with today's fragmented environments. Its unique evolutionary path means we might not fully grasp its social behaviors or reproductive quirks, details crucial for survival. Bringing back this mysterious saber-tooth could lead to unforeseen ecological disruptions that our modern landscapes aren't equipped to handle. Can you picture a wombat the size of a small car? Diprotodon, the giant wombat-like marsupial, was the largest known marsupial that ever walked the earth. Roaming ancient Australia during the Pleistocene, these hefty herbivores could weigh over a ton and fill a niche similar to that of modern-day megafauna. Their robust build and unique dentition allowed them to process tough vegetation, shaping the ecosystems they inhabited. However, modern Australia is a patchwork of drastically altered landscapes, urban areas, farmlands, and fragmented bushlands, far removed from the vast, continuous habitats Diprotodon once thrived in. Their slow reproductive rate and specialized diets mean that even if technology allowed us to clone them, ensuring their survival in today's competitive environment would be a monumental challenge. Reintroducing such a colossal creature could unintentionally unsettle the balance between native species and the altered flora of modern Australia. What if a bird taller than a grown person ruled Madagascar again? The elephant bird, known scientifically as Epirnis, was once a giant of Madagascar's skies, though it couldn't fly. Towering over most modern birds, these flightless giants could reach heights that rival a human, with massive bodies built to navigate dense island forests. Their extinction, likely due to a combination of human hunting and habitat loss, removed a keystone herbivore from Madagascar's very unique ecosystem. While the notion of seeing these colossal birds in the wild may evoke wonder, their reintroduction would come with serious complications. The island's environment has since evolved, with invasive species and altered landscapes replacing the conditions that once supported these elephant birds. Additionally, their specialized breeding and feeding habits, adapted to a prehistoric world, may not mesh with current ecological dynamics. Reviving these giant birds might disturb the delicate balance that now exists in Madagascar, causing more harm than awe. Ever seen a horse-like creature with clawed hands? Calicotherium. Calicotherium was one of nature's most bizarre experiments. A perissodactyl with long, clawed forelimbs and a body that bore a passing resemblance to a horse. Roaming forests and grasslands during the Miocene, this odd ungulate used its clawed appendages to strip vegetation and perhaps even defend itself from predators. Its unusual anatomy set it apart from other hoofed animals, making it a fascinating study in evolutionary experimentation. However, reintroducing such a creature into today's ecosystems would be tricky. The habitats it once frequented have undergone dramatic transformations, and the niche it occupied has been filled by other herbivores over millions of years. Not only this, but its specialized way of feeding and locomotion might not align with modern flora and competition dynamics. While the Calicotherium story is one of evolutionary marvel, the risks of upsetting current ecological balances make it a questionable candidate for resurrection. Could a creature that looked like a pig, but wasn't really one, wreak havoc today? Entelodont wasn't actually a pig at all, but rather a bizarre, omnivorous artiodactyl with a fearsome appearance. These massive mammals roamed parts of North America, Europe, and Asia during the Oligocene and Miocene, sporting oversized jaws and robust bodies that could intimidate even the fiercest predators. Their skull structure suggests that they had a powerful bite and a generalist diet which helped them dominate diverse landscapes. Yet reviving these guys presents significant challenges. Modern ecosystems are finely tuned, and introducing a creature with such broad dietary habits and aggressive foraging behavior could disrupt food webs and outcompete native species. Additionally, their social dynamics and territorial instincts remain largely a mystery, meaning that even if science could bring them back, integrating them safely into current habitats would be a risky proposition. The hell pig might be too hellish for our modern world. Imagine a kangaroo so gigantic it dwarfed its modern relatives. Prosaptodon was a giant, short-faced kangaroo that once roamed the open woodlands and grasslands of ancient Australia. Standing much taller than the kangaroos we know today, Prosaptodon had powerful hind legs built for leaping and a uniquely robust build adapted to life in a harsh, arid climate. Its unusual facial structure, short and broad, set it apart from its modern descendants, suggesting specialized feeding habits and social behaviors. However, the ecological conditions of prehistoric Australia, which supported such a megafauna, have changed dramatically. Modern Australia is a mosaic of urban development, agriculture, and fragmented natural habitats that may not be able to sustain such a large herbivore. The dietary needs and social structure of Prosaptodon honed over millennia might clash with today's ecological balance. Reviving this giant kangaroo could lead to unforeseen impacts on vegetation patterns and competition with existing species, turning an awe-inspiring relic into an ecological wildcard. What if a giant flightless predator suddenly returned from the past? Titanus, one of the terror birds of the Neogene period, prowled the landscapes of North America with a presence that defied its avian lineage. Despite being flightless, Titanus was a formidable predator, built to chase and dispatch prey with its powerful legs and beaked jaws. Its origins trace back to South America, and it later ventured into North America during a time of great faunal exchange between continents. The reintroduction of Titanus poses a significant conundrum. Modern ecosystems are populated by predators and prey that have evolved without such a unique, flightless carnivore. The specialized hunting techniques of Titanus, honed for a bygone era, might not translate well into current environments, potentially leading to dangerous competition with existing apex predators. The habitats it once called home have been drastically reshaped by human activity and by climate change, and resurrecting Titanus could disrupt the intricate balance of modern food chains, transforming a relic of the past into an unpredictable threat. Have you ever wondered what an elephant with a couple extra tusks would look like? Gomphotherium was an ancient relative of modern elephants, boasting not just a single pair of tusks, but an additional set on its upper jaw, a feature that made it stand out in the prehistoric megafauna lineup. These versatile proboscideans roamed vast swaths of Africa, Eurasia, and North America during the Miocene, adapting to diverse habitats from lush forests to open plains. Their unique dental and cranial structures suggest a varied diet that could handle both tough vegetation and softer plant matter. Yet modern ecosystems, with their established elephant populations and vegetation dynamics, may not be ready to accommodate a creature with such distinct feeding and social behaviors. Integrating these guys back in today's world could lead to intense competition over resources and unexpected shifts in plant communities. While their extra tusks evoke a sense of prehistoric wonder, reintroducing them could ripple through ecological networks in ways that we can't fully predict. Can you fathom a creature with a trunk-like snout that wasn't an elephant? Palercestes, sometimes referred to as the marsupial tapir, was an oddball of Australian megafauna. With a peculiar peculiar trunk-like snout and uniquely structured limbs, this creature defied conventional classification. Its strange appearance was paired with specialized feeding habits, likely designed to forage in dense, rugged landscapes. Pallarkesti's evolutionary path diverged dramatically from other marsupials, suggesting a level of ecological specialization that modern environments might not support. Today's Australian ecosystems have been heavily altered by human activity, invasive species, and climate change, leaving little room for a creature with such niche adaptations. Reintroducing Pallarkestes could spark unforeseen challenges, from altered plant dynamics to potential conflicts with current fauna. Its captivating, if unconventional biology serves as a reminder that not all evolutionary marvels are suited for a modern comeback. What if the myth of a unicorn had a basis in reality? Elasmotherium, often nicknamed the Siberian unicorn, roamed the vast steppes of Eurasia during the Pleistocene. This massive rhinoceros-like creature sported a single, enormous horn atop its forehead, an attribute that fueled centuries of unicorn legends. Despite its fantastical appearance, Elasmotherium was a product of a harsh, cold environment, its thick hide and sturdy frame perfectly suited to the challenges of glacial climates. However, the ecosystems that once supported this unicorn have long since vanished, replaced by modern landscapes that function on entirely different ecological principles. Its dietary needs, migratory patterns, and social behavior are all tied to a world that no longer exists. Reviving Elasmotherium could inadvertently destabilize contemporary ecosystems where competition and resource allocation are finely balanced. Though its horn captures our imaginations, the real-life implications of reintroducing such a creature remain steeped in uncertainty and ecological risk.
Number 10. The woolly mammoth. It was announced that not long ago that a team of scientists and entrepreneurs announced they were trying to bring back the woolly mammoth back to life. No zoo will ever be the same again, or smell the same for that matter. A company called Colossal is responsible for this colossal project. The brilliant team of scientists are planning to bring the woolly mammoth back to life by creating an elephant embryo made of mammoth genomes. Pretty cool. Have you ever seen Jurassic Park? I feel like they haven't seen Jurassic Park. It's kind of a bad idea. The last mammoth to ever live was 7,500 years ago, but what if we had these hairy Goliaths back again today? The Siberian tundra thousands of years ago was once full of woolly mammoths, but climate change began to slow them down. It also didn't help that humans needed food. And these guys could surely feed a family of 4. Mammoths also provided warmth, which was perfect for early humans. It's pretty cold out there. Genetics company Colossal raised over $15 million to try and bring this animal back to life. But should they?
Number 9. The woolly rhinoceros. Yeah, since we're on the woolly train, what better time to mention this hairy beast? The woolly rhino. I oddly want to pet him. Just one brush. Once upon a time, these rhinos were common throughout Europe and Asia. They were well prepared for the cold tundra. They had a thick blanket of fur, just like the old woolly mammoth. So no ice age will stop this rhino. I mean, it didn't help them out, but it was mostly humans needing food and warmth that led to their extinction. But cut to 14,000 years later, we're trying to apologize. We're trying to make it up to them by bringing them back to life. Hi, you exist now. Isn't that great? To a world that's even more harsh. Yeah, remember when it was cold? Well, now it's really warm. Good game, rhinos. Might want to go get a haircut. The same company responsible for the Mammoth Project is also trying to bring back this hairy boy. I mean, I'm all for science, don't get me wrong, but if these species died off that long ago, will highways help? Probably not.
Number 8. The heath hen. That's interesting, I don't know anything about that. Here we go. Finally something that isn't the size of a minivan. I'm already excited. The heath fan we lost quite recently actually, which of course is sad. We're losing birds rapidly, especially in North America. Our prairies are shrinking and they're being converted to agriculture. By 1870, the only remaining heath hens were protected in a vineyard, or a vineyard. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. But sadly, when 1932 rolled around, those fluffy dudes were no more. Also, Thanksgiving dinners didn't help. I get hungry sometimes. Yeah, we ate another animal to extinction. I'm seeing a pattern here. However, all hope is not lost for the heath hens, hence the title of this list. A company called Revive and Restore, good name, they're trying to get these hens back to the sky rather than back on our plates. They've been working with the community since 2014 with some scientific help from the prairie chicken. Before we continue, if you haven't done so already, go check out our sister page Bumblebee. Taylor and I break down top 10 lists, but it's all ancient history, medieval stuff, lots of knights. Lots of knights. We love knights here, and castles. So make sure to check out our Bumblebee Facebook page for more, and maybe some behind the scenes content. I'll see you there. Maybe some Wild West stuff too, you don't know.
Maybe some yees or haws. I don't know. We may have done some yees haws.
Yo.
Thank you. That was great. Thank you a lot. Number 7, great auk. Once thriving in colonies off North Atlantic coasts, the great auk would grow up to 30 inches long, and its tiny little wings would only be used to swim, so don't get too excited. These little balls of fluff did not fly in the skies. Their wings were really tiny. They were like 13 centimeters long, just little... They were cute, but quite defenseless. I don't know if you could have picked up on that. You know, very cute, very defenseless, obviously. Fluffy dudes. Around the 1500s, European fishermen discovered this perfect area for hunting, and it just happened to be where most, if not all, these great auks were thriving. Newfoundland, yeah, it looked like the iceberg in Club Penguin at this point. It was packed. It was a good time if you know, weren't a great auk. You were eating good if you were a fisherman, so their number rapidly declined. By 1950, the last 2 known specimens were hunted by one single fisherman on Eldey Island, just off the coast of Iceland. One dude just Thanos'd an entire bird species. What a monster. Scientists plan on using genetic information extracted from their fossils or preserved organs. You know, we love organs in jars. So they plan on editing their DNA with the closest living species, which is now the razor-billed auk. The organization Revive and Restore is behind the wheel on this one again. You'll see these names come up a few times over and over on this list because, yeah, not too many companies are trying to revive dead animals. What do you know?
Number 6, the Steller sea cow. Named after George Wilhelm Steller, who discovered this ball of blubber back in 1741. The Steller sea cow was first discovered during the Vitus Bering's Great Northern Expedition. They found her right after the crew became shipwrecked. Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse. Here's a surprise sea cow to confuse you. Good luck! They were quite common millions of years ago, but sadly, and unsurprisingly, they were no match for humans. They only swam about a meter deep, so they were quite easy to hunt. George Steller assures that these creatures were made of pure love. They had strong bond with their families, which made it even easier to hunt. That's sick. Taylor. That's Taylor. Wow, that's really sad. What's also sad is my pronunciation of gestation, considering they had a 1-year gestation period. The species just couldn't reproduce fast enough to keep up with the hunting. But scientists were able to sequence their genome, which means we could see these creatures again one day. The answer may lie in the DNA of a dugong. Is that a Pokemon? That's a Pokemon, isn't it? That's a Pokemon.
Number 5, the dodo bird. So dodo birds were once big and beautiful. These flightless ground nesting birds once filled the islands of the Indian Ocean. They had massive talons. They were pretty scary. They were gray and blue, so they were beautiful. They didn't have any natural predator, right? This sounds great. No natural predator until we came along, of course. Around 1507, the island was discovered by Portuguese sailors, and the rest, yeah, you can guess. The rest is history. They were the easiest bird to hunt. Had the phrase dead as a dodo, right? They were easy to take out. They weren't just loved by sailors either. They were not 100% to blame here, okay? Monkeys, rats, pigs, any animal that made its way to the island just had their eggs for lunch. It was so easy. So it didn't take a long time for the dodo population to completely be gone. The last dodo was hunted in 1681, but could it be on this list? Could we bring back the dodo bird today? Hopefully, I mean maybe, I don't know. Scientists found an extremely well-preserved dodo skeleton back in 2007, so we may have a chance at picking apart some DNA. A research facility near Melbourne, Australia is currently trying to use pigeon genes to bring this bird back. Again, I'm all for science, I'm all for bringing animals back to life. You know, scientifically, that's a feat in itself. Great work, we love it. But do we really think no one's gonna make dodo bird chicken wings? That's a problem waiting to happen. As soon as I said it, you were like, oh, that would be pretty good.
Number 4, Pyrenean ibex. I'm just as confused as you guys are. That Pyrenean ibex went extinct 22 years ago. Last one was seen in 2000, my friends. The last one was a female named Celia. That's so nice. A falling tree sadly killed her. Oh my god. That's horrible. A subspecies of the Spanish ibex were once native to the Pyrenees Mountains on the border of Spain and France. Back in the Dark Ages, medieval times, their population was reduced drastically to an endangered level. They would roam the land, but knights with swords and bows and armies to feed, you know, you can kind of guess what happened there. Disease being spread by humans at this point also played an important role in their demise. Humans could barely keep up, let alone animals. The Pyrenean ibex was successfully cloned and brought back from extinction for a whopping 7 minutes. DNA from the last living lady was implanted into the womb of a domestic goat. Science is wild, dude. That's so crazy. Lung complications are why the clone didn't last longer than 7 minutes, but listen to what I just said. They made a clone for 7 minutes. It's a start.
Number 3, the Tasmanian tiger. Once native to Australia, classic, the Tasmanian tiger, also known as the thylacine, you have to say that in Australian accent, the thylacine. It was a massive thylacine. I'm gonna say it all day now. It was a massive carnivorous marsupial that went extinct around the 1930s. So major factors here, as you probably have guessed, climate change, hunting, and its genetic diversity wasn't all too great. It's sad on one hand because these beautiful creatures disappeared so recently, but it's recent enough that we have a shot at bringing them back. Yeah, just back to life. Hi, That was a close one. Go hunt. Yeah, imagine looking outside and seeing this thing on your front yard. Are we ready for this? I can barely handle like deer in Canada. I don't know. Squirrels, black squirrels, they're scary up in Canada. I don't know. Thank God for those jars though. About time we open those up. Some jars of organs, classic. Already we have some of the Tasmanian tiger genes present after scientists, inserted them into a mouse fetus and they're just waiting to see what happens. The Australian Museum has been working hard to bring this beast back to life and they're close. They're only still lacking the DNA fully to recreate it. So if you have any jars of Tasmanian tiger parts, comment down below, hit that thumbs up, let us know. We'll bring them back.
Number 2, the gastric brooding frog. That just sounds like it needs to be shot. I'm a big fan of frogs. I mean, I don't mind them, they're green and stuff and they're slimy, I guess. They're pretty cool. Except for when they hatch babies out of their backs. Taylor showed me a video of that earlier and I almost threw up. There's a joke there somewhere, but I don't know, that's just gross, dude. Why would you show me that, Taylor? Frogs are wild, but back in the day, they were quite dangerous to be around. The gastric brooding frogs, for one, are so alien. These frogs would swallow its egg and hatch them from their mouth. No. So if you saw this in the wild, you would know. You might just see one soon. Maybe your kids will see one in the wild. Now they went extinct back in 1983, but scientists have figured out a way to implant dead cells into a fresh egg from an entirely different frog species. Let's just hope these new ones aren't born out of their back and we're golden. I don't have to think about that. Oh God. Oh.
And finally, number 1, the Megatherium. Mega, big last, number 1, mega number 1. That's actually not that big. We talked about bringing back the woolly mammoth, so what other Ice Age cast member can we see in live action in the future? Let's see. Perhaps the Megatherium, aka the giant ground sloth. Yeah, they're kind of cute. They're scary, but they're pretty cute. They're slow and cute. Sloths used to be a lot bigger than we think. We often laugh at them for being so slow. The movie Ice Age sure didn't help their case as the dodo birds. Of course, the giant ground sloth is closely related to our modern three-toed sloth, but luckily for us, today's sloths aren't the same size as an elephant. Yeah, because that would be a horror film, wouldn't it? If a giant elephant-sized sloth started to slowly climb a tree outside of my house, I'd be sick. I wouldn't wake up. I'd be like, that's it. I had a heart attack. That's the scariest thing I've ever seen. We may be able to bring this one back, although they died off 8,000 years ago. It's still possible. Anything is possible with science and a little hope and fear. DNA samples were extracted from their hair remains, so the next step is to develop a fetus in an artificial womb. That's the hard part, so keep in tune for that. Keep in tune for that. That's the thing we like to say here. Keep in tune, guys. Keep in tune for part 2.
Starting off at number 10 now, we have Spinosaurus. Let me start by asking you guys a question. What's the largest carnivorous dinosaur of all time? Surely it's the T-Rex, right? They've always been portrayed as the top dogs. Their name literally translates to Tyrant Lizard King. I was surprised to learn that it's actually the Spinosaurus, perhaps the largest known carnivorous dinosaur of all time. It lived about 100 million years ago. Estimates put the length of these things about 60 feet while weighing as much as 23 tons. That's 3.5 times as much as the T-Rex. If its sheer size wasn't scary enough, you might have guessed from its name that it also had very big spines. They fanned out across its back and formed what is usually referred to as its sail. What scientists aren't sure about is if the spines were covered in fat and looked kind of like a huge camel hump thing, a camel the size of a small building.
Spinosaurus is a predator, but one that hunts in water. It's Ichthyophagous, a fish eater.
Coming at number 9 now, we have the giant crocodile. That's right, if you thought the best way to make a crocodile even more scary was to give it more teeth, you're wrong. You just make them way bigger, and they really did exist. The scientific name for this animal is Sarcosuchus. They lived around 112 million years ago during the early Cretaceous period in what is now Africa and South America. These things weighed about 8 tons and grew up to 40 feet in length. It's almost twice as long as the biggest living crocodiles today. The giant crocodile would probably laugh at the crocodiles we have today, then it would eat them, then it would eat us, then it would laugh. Luckily, they died out over 100 million years ago. Next up at number 8 now, we have the walking worm. The scientific name for this one is Hallucigenia fortis. It was part of a family of walking worms. They looked like worms, they acted like worms, but they had legs, actual little legs. Get this, scientists discovered their fossils in Canada and China. They were so weirded out by their appearance, they called them hallucigenia, as in hallucinogenic, like hallucinogenic drugs. These things are so weird looking, the scientists basically thought they were tripping out. That's what I'm taking from that story. I'm thinking if normal worms usually creep people out a bit, then a big walking one that looks like it came from a Harry Potter book might be a little bit too much. Moving on to number 7 now, we have Androsarchus. Think of a big scary mammal. A lion, a tiger, maybe a bear, Oh my, this thing would eat them for breakfast. Andrewsarchus lived in what is now China about 45 million years ago. The only known skull of this creature was discovered in Mongolia in 1923. It's now on display in the American Museum of History in New York. It was from only this skull and a few bones that scientists were able to make an accurate construction of what this beast would have looked like. When they finished the model, they were pretty shocked to see that it would have weighed about 4,000 pounds. That would possibly make it the largest land-dwelling mammal predator ever. We're talking bigger than all the lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my. If you don't want to step into a ring with any of those animals, well, those animals wouldn't want to step into a ring with this thing. Next up at number 6 now, we have the pig from hell. I'll admit, that's the name I gave it. You'll see why though. This mammal is known as the entelodon. They lived 37 to 28 million years ago all across Eurasia. If we were around back then, we probably would have said they looked like pigs, but like really terrifying ones. Despite being on all fours, these things were 4.5 feet tall. They were massive. Some scientists say they had a ravaging appetite for meat. These things would eat you, they'd eat me, and if there wasn't any of the meat around, they'd end up eating each other. You heard me right. Some people have suggested that entelodonts were actually cannibalistic. They craved meat so much they'd even eat their own kind. How does that sound to you? Imagine one of these things charging right at you. You wouldn't stand a chance. You better hope they'd eaten their fill for the day, or you be the filling. Next up at number 5 now, we have the 3-foot-long scorpion. That is the scientific name, just kidding. This is actually Pulmonoscorpius. It looks just like modern scorpions. It had the same front claws and sting in its tail. The only difference is this thing was bloody massive. It lived over 300 million years ago during the Carboniferous period, and this helps explain why these things grew so massive. Back then, the oxygen content in Earth's atmosphere was a lot higher. Scientists know that this is one of the key factors in determining how big some creatures get. So if you don't like creepy crawlies, just be glad there isn't too much oxygen in the air. We know this creature had venom, like many modern scorpions, but it's difficult to know just how toxic it would have been. One thing's for sure though, you wouldn't want to stick around these things to find out. If modern day scorpions cause problems for us today, imagine these 3-foot versions running around stinging us. No thank you. Moving on to number 4 now, we have the Smilodon. I absolutely love this one. I remember watching a show as a kid called Walking with Beasts that featured this very animal. Check it out if you haven't heard of it. The Smilodon lived from 2.5 million years ago to just 10,000 years ago. If you recognize the picture on the screen right now, you may know this creature by its much more famous name, the saber-toothed tiger. They were a force to be reckoned with. They had very well-built forelimbs and exceptionally big canine teeth. They spread out all over the world and came in a number of different types. The biggest ones were thought to have weighed up to 880 pounds. You might think, oh, well, I'm glad humans never had to live alongside these beasts. Well, think again. They did. Considering the saber-toothed tiger didn't die out until about 100,000 years ago, there were already modern humans, just like me and you, walking around back then. Many of them got probably eaten by these big cats as they had nothing more than a simple spear to defend themselves. They died so that we could live. I vote that we don't bring them back. Next up at number 3 now, we have the terror bird. That's the nickname given to Forus racidae, and I think the nickname suits it very well. They were the largest species of apex predators in South America for about 60 million years, starting 62 million years ago. That's a very, very long time. You can't even picture how long these things were the top dogs for. They were huge, standing up to 9.8 feet tall. They were flightless birds too. That's quite strange to think about. We usually think of flightless birds as quite harmless. Dodos and penguins. Maybe ostriches could give you a good slash, but generally speaking, it's the flying hawks and things that are the scariest. This creature will make you think twice though. The terror birds were big. They weighed up to half a ton. Okay, so maybe that means you can outrun them. Oh no. Probably not. It's thought they could actually run as fast as a cheetah. That's about 75 miles an hour. If you see a terror bird and the terror bird sees you, just give up. Accept your fate as its lunch. Coming at number 2 now, we have the giant bird. That's my name for it. The real name for this creature is Pelagornis sandersi. It's one of the largest flying birds ever discovered. It lived 25 million years ago during the Oligocene era. This thing was huge. You may think you've seen a big bird in your time, maybe a pigeon or a seagull. Nah, you've not seen a big bird. Look at the size of this. It had a wingspan of up to 24 feet. Its wingspan was bigger than a giraffe is tall. Just try and imagine that. Perhaps fittingly, Interestingly, for one of the largest flying creatures to ever live, the only fossil of it was discovered in 1983 by construction workers at Charleston International Airport, South Carolina. And finally, at number 1 now, we have Quetzalcoatlus. I'm not even sure how to start off with this one. Just look at this thing. This creature was a pterosaur. They lived alongside dinosaurs, but were very much their own thing. The Quetzalcoatlus was one of the largest flying animals of all time. It was toothless, it had a long stiff neck, and was just generally a bit of an oddball. Its wingspan was 52 feet. Remember the massive bird we were talking about just earlier? This creature had a wingspan twice that size. It's hard to even imagine how big this thing was. Ever since its discovery, people have been fascinated by it. It's been featured in documentaries and movies around the world. Perhaps the favorite one that I found is from Clash of the Dinosaurs. We already know that's wrong anyway, but wait till you hear this. The show portrayed them as having ultraviolet vision to locate dinosaur urine while hunting in the air. I'm obviously mocking this, but I do kind of want to watch it. Coming at number 10 now, we have Leolorudon. This thing belonged to the Plesiosaur family. They lived alongside dinosaurs and also died out around the same time. Different species, but it might help you to visualize these scary beasts. They were huge, weighing more than 3,500 pounds and growing to over 30 feet in size. Around a quarter of that alone was just their skull. Think about that. That's 7.5 feet of just skull. A skull filled with a powerful jaw and several rows of razor-sharp teeth. The Leolorudon outlasted some of its other plesiosaur relatives. They survived for about 10 million years after the extinction event that wiped out the dinosaurs. Their fossils have been found mainly in Europe, in places like France and England. That's right, I'm from the same place as Leolorudon. I'm trying to feel pride here, but it's not coming. Next up at number 9 now, we have Gorgonops. This is an extinct therospid that lived about 260 million years ago. That is such a long time ago. The T-Rex dinosaur lived closer to modern day, right now, than to when the Gorgonops lived, by about 130 million years. This ancient creature was doing its thing before dinosaurs were even the top predators on the planet. It was actually the Gorgonops that were the top predators themselves. They grew up to 2 meters in length from nose to tail and seem to have dominated southern Africa. They needed their huge sharp canine teeth to pierce through the hides of the big herbivores that were around at the time. Relative to its size, Gorgonops had a deep skull which had a triangular profile when viewed from above. And let's talk about those teeth again. The 12cm teeth were so long they protruded beyond the lower jaw. Of course, big scary fangs like this needed protection, and so the jaw grew to be thicker at the front and the rear. Next up at number 8 now, we have the Magatherium. Sloths are cute, right? Slow, furry, small. Well, our next animal is 2 out of 3 of those things. Magatherium was a sloth that lived in South America up to just 10,000 years ago. Close call for us. These things were the size of elephants. Some specimens have been measured at 20 feet from head to tail. Can you even imagine that? There aren't many other land mammals that have ever been as big as this thing, perhaps mammoths. In terms of behavior, it acted much like a sloth, using its giant claws to cling onto tree branches or standing up on its hind legs to get hard to reach food. They weighed up to 4 tons, so if they fell over, you better hope you're not underneath them. An interesting thought is that because they died out not that long ago, in the grand scheme of things, humans lived alongside them. They may even have contributed to their demise. That's right, you, yes you, have an ancestor that saw a giant sloth. I think that's pretty cool. Moving on to number 7 now, we have the Thalatocon. This creature was part of the Ichthyosaur family, another group of marine reptiles that are mistakenly thought of as dinosaurs. I didn't think dinosaurs when I first saw this picture of them though. My first thought was hell dolphin, like an actual dolphin from hell. These 28-foot long creatures were the top predators in their time, crushing prey their own size with their powerful jaws. It lived about 245 million years ago. We're talking about another insanely ancient creature here. So far, scientists think that it lived around the US western coast. Not much more is known than that. In fact, because of their age and the lack of specimens, these things weren't even discovered until 2010 and weren't formally described until 2013. Next up at number 6 now, we have Arthroplura. If you creepy crawly haters thought, oh, I'd forgotten about you, oh no, this one's for you. This was an 8.5 foot long millipede that lived over 300 million years ago. Let me just say that again. This millipede was 8.5 feet long. Some of you who are squirming right now might be thinking, okay, it's huge, but at least it's slow and I can see it coming from a mile off as long as it's not scuttling up to me. Sorry to break it to you, but these things were fast. Fossil trackways have been discovered that indicate this creature could move and maneuver quickly, moving hundreds of legs in perfect rhythm. Scientists even think if it felt threatened, it would have reared up onto its back to face the threat head on. There's a nice bedtime image for you. Moving on to number 5 now, we have the Daeodon. This thing was the mother of all pigs. This was a pig that was the same size as a rhino. I really don't know how to sell this one to you other than that. It was a rhino pig. Daeodon lived from 29 to 19 million years ago, and its fossils have been found throughout the US. Adults had skulls about 3 feet long, and they stood about 5.8 feet tall at the shoulders. If you like the sound of Daeodon's name, you're gonna love its translation. It literally means hostile, destructive teeth. That's a pretty fair name, especially based on the pictures you can see now. It used to be called Terrible Pig, but when people realized just how hostile and destructive the teeth were, a name change was in order. Coming in at number 4 now, we have Estemenosuchus. That took me just once to get right, I think. This creature's name means crowned crocodile. It lived around 267 million years ago, and again, its name suits it. The creature had protruding horns coming from its head, not actually dissimilar to the antlers of a moose. It reached a body length of more than 10 feet and had massive skulls over 2 feet long. I know I said the name suited them, but that was more the crown part. You see, they were actually more closely related to modern day mammals than dinosaurs. The rhino-sized creatures have become famous for their strange stumpy horns, but scientists still aren't sure why exactly they had them. Don't get me wrong, horns are cool, but most animals usually have a good reason for having them. Maybe these guys just thought they were cool. Next up at number 3 now, we have the Matsuya. This is an extinct mega snake that first appeared in the fossil records around 89.3 million years ago. They were huge, thought to be about 16 feet long. They needed that size too because it's thought they may have hunted and killed dinosaurs. Yeah, nothing much, just huge dinosaurs for lunch. Whatever its prey was, it strangled them to death in the same way boas and pythons do today. It was very successful, so successful in fact that it survived the mass extinction event that killed off the dinosaurs and continued to live for about 20 million years after that. As a species, not just one of them. That would be impressive though. Next up number 2 now, we have Jaekelopterus. This extinct aquatic arthropod is also known as the giant sea scorpion. 8 feet long this thing was, sometimes even 8.5 feet long. Insane. It's thought to be the largest known arthropod ever discovered. Lived around 406 million years ago and was an incredible hunter, all thanks to its eyes, which were about the size of your head. They had segmented bodies with specialized limbs and spikes. They had spring-loaded claws to snatch up fish as they passed by, with the largest ones having an 18-inch spiked claw. I bet many things just saw this thing and gave up. And finally, at number 1 now, we have Therizinosaurus. That means scythe lizard, and you're about to find out why. This huge theropod dinosaur lived around 70 million years ago and stood over 11 feet tall. That's over twice the height of your average person. They also weigh between 3 and 5 tons, so a little bit more than chicken. As you've probably seen from the pictures, these creatures are known for their gigantic claws on each of the 3 digits on their front limbs. It's thought that the claws were over 3 feet long. They had the largest known claws of any animal ever. If you know of anything with claws bigger than 3 feet, then go ahead and prove them wrong on that one, but I don't think you'll find anything even near that size. Surprisingly, these creatures were actually herbivorous. They didn't use their claws for hunting. Predators would definitely get a 3-foot slash in the face if they tried to come near them. Starting off at number 10 now, we have the Epicyon. That name roughly translates to more than dog, and you're about to see exactly why. It lived in North America about 15 million years ago, where it really was the top dog. They grew to about 5 feet in length and weighed up to 300 pounds. They had a massive head as well, even bigger than mine, and very powerful jaws. This resulted in their skull looking more like a lion's than any canine species. This big dog needed to be big because it shared its territory with ancient big cats and bears. Epicyon would have regularly clashed with them for food and territory. Now scientists think its main prey would have been the Apicamelus, a type of camel that lived in North America around that time. That's right, if you're from North America, there could have been giant dogs chasing camels on the exact same spot where you're now standing. There's a thought. Next up at number 9 now, we have the Pelagornis sandersi. You could also call this one the seagull from hell. They lived around 25 million years ago. Their wingspan is estimated to be between 20 and 24 feet. That is the largest wingspan on a flying bird ever discovered. That wingspan is about the size of an orca whale. It's also twice the wingspan of the modern day wandering albatross. Its proportions are so insane that scientists are actually surprised that it could even fly at all. It could have weighed up to 88 pounds, considered too heavy to fly. Right now the best theory is that it could fly because of its relatively small body and long wings, and also that it spent most of its time over the ocean. In fact, they thought it could only take off by hopping over the edge of a cliff. Coming in at number 8 now, we have the acrophysta. This is an extinct group of sperm whales that lived between 13 and 5 million years ago. Modern day sperm whales are known for their very large teeth, but they had nothing on the acrophysta. Unlike modern day sperm whales, they had huge, deeply rooted teeth in both their upper and lower jaws. Modern day sperm whales only have that in their lower jaw. It had a short and pointed snout. This, coupled with the robust, curved front teeth, suggests that acrophysta hunted very large prey, using its back teeth for shearing the meat apart. They had big heads, were very strong, and had upwards curved Y-shaped jaws. They were fairly big creatures, thought to have reached up to 14 feet in size, not as big as modern day orcas, about the size of giant dolphins. Strangely enough, a lot of scientific debate that revolves around this creature is about whether or not it had a top lip. I guess it's just going to be one of those big unanswered life questions. Moving on to number 7 now, we have the Anomalocaris. This creature is also known as the abnormal shrimp, which I love. It really is a perfect description. It's thought to be one of the first predators on Earth. That's quite a title to have. It had a large head and a single pair of large compound eyes on stalks that comprised of around 16,000 different lenses. Its mouth was made up of 32 overlapping plates, 4 large and 28 small, that resembled a sort of pineapple ring with the center replaced by a series of serrated prongs. Looking at models of them today, they resemble small shrimps, except they were a lot bigger than that. They could be over 3.3 feet long and had 2 arms over 7 inches long that protruded from their mouth with barb-like spikes coming out. They ate hard sea creatures for breakfast, lunch and dinner. This is presumed because of the robust spines of their appendages. Basically, you wouldn't want one of these things getting their mouth around your leg and say bye to your leg. Next up at number 6 now, we have the Edestus. This shark lived from 400 to 300 million years ago. If you've watched one of our previous videos in this series, you may think it looks a little bit like the Helicoprion, the one with the big sort of circular saw teeth. Well, they actually belong to the same family, but Edestus had more of an arc of teeth on both the roof and floor of its mouth. After its discovery, scientists were baffled as to how it used this teeth formation to catch and eat its prey. For a while, it was thought that it used its teeth like scissors, bringing the top and bottom together to sort of crush and mash its prey into digestible chunks. Now though, the theory has changed. New research by Wayne M. Itano of the University of Colorado suggests that Edestus used its outwardly projecting teeth in a vertical thrashing manner. It literally thrashed its prey to death. Hey, I mean, whatever works. With quick and strong up and down movements, the shark would have slashed and cut up its prey in seconds before ingesting it whole. I think we've all eaten like that once or twice in our life, maybe when we're really hungry, but that is what Edestus did every day. Coming at number 5 now, we have the Argavantes. These birds were bloody huge, probably second only in wingspan to the Pelagornis that we talked about at number 9. For me though, these things were even scarier. Imagine vultures, but stood taller than adult humans. Yeah, now you're starting to get it. They lived between 9 and 6.8 million years ago and had territories of up to 200 square miles. They would fly these incredible distances looking for food. Now because of its huge size, it's thought that this bird may have actually been unsuited to hunting its own prey and instead lived as a scavenger, taking kills from other carnivores. Just like our giant seagull friends from earlier in the video, scientists have been trying to figure out how this bird was able to fly, as it seems to break the known laws of bird flight, physically speaking. Of course, I'm not saying there are actual laws about birds flying. Skeletal evidence suggests that its breast muscles were not powerful enough for wing flapping for extended periods of time, and that it may have relied on mountain slopes or headwinds to even take off. Moving on to number 4 now, we have the Atacopus. This is an extinct species of arachnids that lived around 390 million years ago. All of you arachnophobes may be glad that it's extinct when you hear about it. It resembled modern day spiders except for the fact that it had a tail. I mean, that's weird enough on a spider, but wait for it, the tail was basically a scorpion tail. That's right, if you've ever wondered how to make a big spider even scarier, scarier to some people, put a massive scorpion tail on the back of it. For a number of years after its discovery, scientists thought that Atacopus was the ancient ancestor of modern spiders. Then they rethought their position. There was an important difference between the two. Modern spiders produce silk to spin webs. Atacopus is thought to have also produced silk, but it used that silk to wrap eggs, lay drag lines, or construct burrow walls. It's this key difference that has now led scientists to believe that Atacopus is probably related to the ancestor of modern spiders, but is not actually a spider itself. Next up at number 3 now, we have the Purosaurus. I need to make an apology here at this point in the video. In a previous video, I described a creature known as the Sarcosuchus as the giant crocodile. I have since learned that there was more than one giant crocodile that used to exist. There were actually quite a few. The Purosaurus was one of them. It's the second largest giant crocodile to ever waddle the earth. It lived across South America about 8 million years ago. This monstrous beast had a very big, stout, robust head full of large shaped teeth that could snag prey and never let them go. The region it lived in is now made up of the Amazon rainforest, but back then it looked very different as it was actually part of a vast inland sea. That sea was full of giant crocodiles, whales, huge rodents and massive turtles. Despite the size of the prey and the competition there, Purosaurus was the top predator, and when you see the size of the reconstructions they've made, you can see just why. Moving on to number 2 now, we have Camarasaurus. This is thought to be the giant ancestor of the giant squid, so it was pretty giant. It first appeared in the fossil records during the middle of the Ordovician era, around 470 million years ago. It had a huge cone-like shell to protect itself. Of course, as you might expect for an ancestor of this squid, it had big old tentacles for catching its prey. Thought to be between 20 and 30 feet, it was a formidable predator. It's thought they were stalkers, ambushing their prey that moved across the sea floor. You may think it would be difficult to be sneaky with a 20-foot cone on your back, but that was also the reason it had to ambush, as the cone would have made chasing prey too difficult. Some scientists actually think that for the biggest of these creatures, they never even moved. They just sat in the dark at the bottom of the ocean waiting for their next meal to pass by. And finally, number 1 now, we have Megalannis. This creature is essentially the great granddaddy of the Komodo dragon, an impressive sized modern creature, but it had nothing on this ancestor. They weighed over 1,300 pounds. That's more than 10 times the weight of an average human being. They also grew to almost 18 feet long. The Megalannis almost made it to the modern era as well, dying out just 50,000 years ago. If you look at when some of the other creatures on this list went extinct, 50,000 years ago is basically yesterday. They lived and died out in Australia, which means the earliest Aboriginal people may have lived alongside them. With enough coordination, they may have been able to take them down, but it would have been risky. One bite from this creature would be enough to cripple even the most experienced early human hunter. When you hear about ancient creatures like this, it's no wonder that ancient cultures so often mention dragons existing. They kind of really did. Starting off at number 10 now, we have the Megalodon. Megalodon was the biggest shark that ever lived. They went extinct about 2.6 million years ago. Scientists think they could have grown to an insane 60 feet in length. That's about 3 times as long as the largest great white shark ever found. Here's how big they are. Before modern science identified them as a prehistoric species of shark, people used to think the Megalodon teeth they'd found were actually dragon tongues. Others said they belonged to giant serpents, or even that they were rocks that had fallen from the moon. Just think how big and scary you'd have to be for people to think that your teeth belonged to dragons or outer space. It used to feed on prehistoric whales, and unlike modern sharks, which go for the soft underbelly of their prey, Megalodon just went for the whole thing. They would bite down on the whale's chest with some 41,000 pounds of force, the strongest ever recorded, and simply crushed the whale's chest cavity and organs. They didn't stand a chance, and unless you're an even bigger whale watching this video, you probably wouldn't either. Next up at number 9 now, we have Phobiromus pattersoni. This was a huge rat. Some scientists have even called it Ratzilla. Technically it wasn't a rat, but if you're scared of them, I bet you'd be scared of this. They reached a whopping 9.8 feet long. Their tails alone could reach 4.9 feet. They had the weight to go with it too, often reaching over 1,500 pounds. Like most rodents, they had big incisor teeth. In the case of Ratzilla though, their incisor teeth were about a foot long. It's a good good job they were herbivores and used those teeth for plant life. However, I don't think that knowledge would do much to calm people if they were suddenly seen running around the streets at night. Coming at number 8 now, we have the titanoboa. Everyone with a phobia of snakes, please look away now. This was a massive snake, thought to actually be the largest that's ever lived. Its name literally means Titanic boa. It lived around 60 million years ago. The largest individuals reached up to 42 feet in length and weighed over 2,500 pounds. That's well over a ton for a snake. It could grow this big because the Earth's climate was a lot warmer back then. As the climate began to cool over the next few million years, only smaller snakes could survive, and snakes like the titanoboa began to disappear. Probably a good thing for us humans, because we would not want to be running around worrying about snakes that weigh as much as your average rhino. No thanks. Next up at number 7 now, we have Stiuso. This is a fish that lived about 370 million years ago during the late Devonian period. These things were big, growing up to 30 feet in length and weighing over a ton. What's most scary about them is their bite. This fish could bite down on its prey with a force of some 6,000 newtons. That might not mean anything to you until I say that's almost about 4 times the bite strength of a polar bear. This fish could bite your arm clean off you, including the bone. Its jaws were so efficient they could hinge them open and snap them shut in a matter of milliseconds. If we were to bring this species back to life, people might worry about them more than sharks. At number 6 now, we have the megapiranha. Unlike a lot of scientific names on this list, the megapiranha has a kind of obvious one. It was a giant piranha fish that lived about 10 million years ago. They grew to around 3 feet long, and unlike modern piranhas, they had not one but 2 separate rows of teeth. Scientists aren't even sure how hard they could bite, but some estimates go as high as 4,749 newtons. If that's the case, they would bite more than twice as hard as a hippo. Neither of those sounds fun, but one definitely sounds worse. Moving on to number 5 now, we have Gigantopithecus. In many ways, this creature is what we'd call Bigfoot. It lived between 9 million to 100,000 years ago in Asia and was the largest ape on Earth. They stood about 10 feet tall and their diets were mostly vegetarian. When I say stand, I mean stand in the way gorillas and chimpanzees do. It's thought they walked on all 4s. However, a small number of scientists do think they walked on 2 legs like humans. Either way, with a 12-foot arm span, you'd be best to stay clear of this giant and unpredictable ape. Next up at number 4 now, we have Helicoprion. This was a shark-like creature that lived some 290 million years ago during the early Permian era. We've seen some very weird creatures on the list so far, but this might just beat them all. The Helicoprion is famous for his spirally arranged clusters of teeth known as tooth walls. This bizarre set of teeth would have reached about 24 inches in length. Moving on to number 3 now, we have the short-faced bear. The scientific name for these is the Arctodus. They first appeared in the fossil records 1.8 million years ago and seemed to survive all the way up until just 11,000 years ago. So, a pretty close call for us modern humans. One specimen found weighed 2,110 pounds. They stood up to 12 feet tall on their hind legs, about twice the height of the average human male. Their vertical arm reach extended up to a further 14 feet. I could keep giving you guys stats on just how monstrous these bears were. Between those ones and the pictures you're seeing now, I think you get the idea. They were 50% larger than the biggest polar bears in recorded history. Scientists estimate they needed a whopping 35 pounds of meat a day just to survive. If we brought them back from extinction, I'm sure they wouldn't mind human meat being a part of that. Next up at number 2 now, we have the Meganeura. Dragonflies are nice, right? They're pretty cool looking creatures you find fluttering around ponds and rivers. They're a little bit freaky if they land on you, but you know, hey, at least they're small. Not Meganeura though. This massive dragonfly-like creature lived about 300 million years ago during a Carboniferous period. Its wingspan could reach up to 30 inches, making this thing about the size of a 6-month-old baby. Don't ask me why I'm using a baby as a reference, it's just the best comparison I could find. They reach this size because insects need more oxygen the bigger they are. Back then, the oxygen levels in the atmosphere were higher than the current 20% we have today. This allowed insects, including Meganeura, to grow insanely big. You wouldn't need your hand to bat this thing away, more like a baseball bat. And finally at number 1 now, we have Deinosuchus. This is an extinct relation of the modern alligator that lived some 80 to 73 million years ago. That means it was alive at the same time as T-Rex. In fact, it's thought these two actually fought it out back then. They are thought to have been up to 33 feet in length and have weighed as much as 5 tons. It looks like the T-Rex might not have been much of a match for this oversized alligator. There have actually been T-Rex fossils found with massive Deinosuchus bites found in them. Perhaps they were just defending their territories from T-Rexes, or perhaps they saw them as food. Either way, they definitely were not scared of T-Rexes, and so they definitely wouldn't be scared of us. I get the feeling if we brought them back from extinction, that might be where we're heading next.
At number 10, we have the saber-toothed tiger. Everyone knows this guy. I mean, he's one of the main characters in the Ice Age movies. By far, one of the most famous extinct animals ever. And they weren't something you want your dog to play around with in the backyard unless you want to traumatize yourself. These things were big, with the larger ones being around 8 feet long and clocking in at 660 pounds. Holy crap. Could you imagine this thing chasing you down? You would be done for. You got no chance. And those amazing fangs that pop out of their head, they're around 7 to 12 inches long. Oh my god. This thing would bite down on you and pierce you like a stuffed pig. There would be blood everywhere. Literally, the difference in power between you and a saber-toothed tiger is like you versus a very cute duck. Even after saying all that, I think if these things were still alive, Mike Tyson would own one and the tiger would understand Mike Tyson as the alpha, because that's just Mike Tyson. That's the way it is. At number 9, we have the T-Rex. Okay, we got another classic. We're going classic after classic for this list. I think dinosaurs count as animals. I'm not sure what the science is on that, but I also don't care. I'm putting it on the list. And I barely need to tell you anything about the T-Rex. We all know what this guy is, and we know that if they were still around, running around, stepping on Subarus, traffic would be insane. They would probably ruin all our lives. The T-Rex weighed around 15,000 kilograms. That's over 30,000 pounds, and it was around 6 meters tall and 12 meters long. The skull alone was massive. This thing's dome was 5 feet long. It was bigger than that guy who got pissed off in that New York bakery.
Go ahead and attack me, big.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I just wanted bagels.
I'm never getting tired of that clip. I'm gonna put in so many videos. I want you guys to know that. Also, this thing could eat 500 pounds of meat in a single bite. Yeah, I know they look cool, and in theory Jurassic Park would be fun, but I'm happy that this massive monster is bones now. At number 8, we have Caprisuchus. Okay, so now we're getting into the weird stuff. The Caprisuchus was basically a giant alligator with long legs. So you know how alligators and crocodiles are scary, but not really scary because they're kind of slow and lumbering? Well, imagine if you slapped some Usain Bolt legs on the bad boy and made them way bigger. Well, now you got a croc that can zip around like an Uber Eats guy trying to put his kids through college. And its jaw is big enough to swallow up their student debt. And legend says they were also wonderful dancers. At number 7, we have Gigantopithecus. Also known as Big Monkey Man among scientists, this thing is basically Bigfoot. It's related to orangutans, so picture a ginger Bigfoot that is 3 meters tall and has a right hook that can cave your head in. These dudes were insanely strong. They had the relative strength to chimps, meaning you know how strong a chimp is for how small it is. Well, imagine a chimp that was 9 feet tall and weighed 1,200 pounds and had the strength to match. It could probably bench press 2 Honda Civics and the entire unmarked VHS collection in R. Kelly's house. That's a lot of weight.
Yo, killing me with this!
It's unknown what made this guy disappear, but a lot of people think it's because they started getting hunted by humans. We might have been hunting them for food, or it might have been just foresight on the side of our ancestors. If we let these guys evolve alongside with us, they would be dominating all the sports right now. At number 6, we have Gorgonops. So I'm just learning this now, but they were terrifying creatures even before the dinosaurs. I'm not surprised I didn't know this. I'm not a very bright person. The only things I really know about are video games and how to make very nice pancakes. Those are my only 2 skills. Beyond that, I'm useless. But this thing was king of the world way before the dinos were even a thing. Gorgonops holds the title for having one of the best names of all time and being one of the most dominant apex predators ever. It was kicking around 260 million years ago. It kinda looks like a cross between a bear and a lion and a crocodile, and it had massive teeth that it would use to destroy all its prey. Nothing stood a chance against Gorgonops. Y'all afraid of sharks? Well, you're gonna love this next one. At the number 5 spot, we got Megalodon. This is one of the biggest sharks that we know ever existed. It's massive, and its heart was powered by orphan blood. These things were huge, dude. Some megalodons would grow up to 60 feet long. That's bigger than the Hollywood sign. If you're caught in open water with this thing, it would be like popping a juicy zit on your back. You'd explode into blood in no time. The crazy thing about this one is that there are Megalodon truthers out there that think this thing still exists. They believe hidden away in the deep somewhere are megalodons that roam, waiting to strike back and ruin everyone's summer vacation. Think about that next time you're going out for a nice little swim. At number 4 we have Pulmonoscorpius. Okay, this one by far is one of the grossest ones we've had on the list so far. This thing is a scorpion, except it was 3 feet long. Ugh. Yeah, no thanks dude, it's disgusting. And it has all the regular things that scorpions have. Big ass claws, 8 gross legs, a bunch of nasty eyes, a tail that's full of venom that can kill you in a very painful fashion. Yeah, this one's a big no thank you for me. It would take a lot more than a can of Raid to kill one of these things. Could you imagine one of these things working its way into your home? I wouldn't know if I'm supposed to kill it or adopt it. It's basically like a super gross dog. I feel like everyone watching this video is like, oh, those things would have been gross. And everyone in Australia is like, oh, gimbal gambles? We have those things every winter. At number 3 we have the Titanoboa, a big old snaky thing that's basically a giant boa constrictor, like massive, like 60 feet long, could swallow a car whole, and this thing still operates like a regular boa. It would crush its prey to death. What's the PSI on this thing, dude? It would have been crazy. It probably has enough grip strength to turn a piece of coal into a diamond and then crush that diamond into dust. It was super jacked. Like a giant flexible bicep waiting to squish things into a nice bite-sized package. This guy weighed around 2,000 pounds, bro. 2,000. If you're afraid of snakes, you probably already turned this video off, but you could imagine getting crushed by this thing. You wouldn't stand a chance. Your head would fly off like when you put Mentos in a Diet Coke. At number 2 we have a Theropleura. Yeah, we're keeping it gross with some more bugs. A Theropleura is a 10-foot long centipede that might have been too big and gross to have many predators. Imagine a centipede that is so big no one messes with it. It roams around freely with no laws, doing whatever it wants, not afraid of anything. That sounds like a nightmare come to life. These things have massive pincers for eating and could easily slice through your flesh. If it was a battle between one of these big, multi-legged freaks and John Bones Jones, I might take the bug. I'm just glad I live in a time where only house centipedes are a few inches long. If I came home to one of these things, I would probably have to put it on the lease. At number 1, we have terror birds. So picture an ostrich but bigger, which is kind of the theme of the whole list. Everything used to be bigger back then. And then we came around and everyone had to make room. Yeah, that's the kind of things we are. Humans, we take up space. So these things are like an ostrich, but they're 9 feet tall and they have razor sharp claws on their feet that they would use to easily slice into their prey's flesh. These terror birds would weigh around 340 pounds. That's a big ass bird, dude. And they could move at around 30 miles per hour. And to top it all off, they were carnivores. That's great. Thought that they would commonly prey on prehistoric versions of horses. These dudes would slash Seabiscuit's throat in a second and not even think twice about it. I'm not surprised at all that these things existed. We all know how mean a goose is. For sure its ancestors were these monstrosities running around killing everything. That's what every goose wishes it could do today.